18 and a half minutes after 6 o'clock. The sun is certainly rising. It is sunrise. Good morning to you wherever you are. And I genuinely mean that, wherever you are
and
watching.
happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Yeah, happy anniversary. We're still very much in the month of June.
What a way to wind down, though,
It's a wind down. I feel like June has been the fastest June ever. June started, and now it's finished.
It's like, what?
Like, bam!
Kaboom!
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas.
Happy Valentine's.
No, because it's moving fast. And speaking of moving fast, it is your girl, the speedster herself, TKO. Good morning, Tony K. Olivia. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
You heard the sound effect? Good morning. Good morning. It's so good to be here. Good morning to the YouTubers. You know the YouTube fam are my people.
Yes.
Always, you know, the comments you do, you know.
Nice.
And boy, they can talk like a family.
Love it.
Good morning. Good morning, YouTubers.
They even checking on each other. You know what I mean? I love the vibe.
Yesterday.
Yeah. All right.
I was over by my uncle.
Yeah.
You know, it's
or
very
guys,
nice.
I'm going to work now.
Yeah.
Or you don't see me, you know, later.
Yeah,
I
it's
really love that.
lovely.
You see, TK, a community and a village is so very important because, again, no man is an island, no man stands alone. And sometimes just somebody asking you, how is your day going? Or somebody checking up on you like, oh, wow, I matter. They notice that I wasn't here and they're checking on me to see if I'm all right. You know what I mean? Just certain courtesies and manners and respect. I just love it. So big ups to our YouTubers. I oftentimes go in the comments as well and I'm looking, you know?
I do.
And I'm like, okay, I see you.
Especially, like, I love on a Wednesday and a Friday when I'm not here. I like going.
I'm over there watching
like,
too. I'm like, let me see who is saying something. Let me see who has said something, TK. Yes.
So,
love it.
Love to see it. Love to see
and that's exactly what I do too on my Modern Mommy Diaries podcast on a Sunday.
Yeah.
I'm in the comments.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'll be watching you. I see what you comment.
I better behave myself.
Please.
Yes,
Please and thanks.
Because you're going to get a little auto mark.
All right, let's see what's happening in our headlines for this morning, shall we?
Yes, we shall.
All right, let's do it. So, hearing, well, we're going to jump right in as soon as I'm able to. But before that, I didn't get to tell you this, Dennis. I came, we talked about it earlier, you know, but I have to put in my
man, definitely.
You know? Although I got to see Dennis in his glory and in his uniform and looking sharp and fantastic.
Thank you.
I just want you to know that it was an excellent event. I think Mrs. Kitty did kind of sort it out in breakfast time.
No, you can give your take.
What I wanted to know, did you stay for the tactical demonstration?
I was not able to stay for the tactical. I came so early that I wasn't able to stay that long.
Because when I saw you and Mr. Dawkins, I was like, I hope you're gonna see the show, because as a man we put on show. We really want.
Maybe you do something our next
I didn't want to hear him opinion.
I saw it. Well, I saw the bits and pieces that you guys put out on your social media and put out online, but I wasn't able to stay for the actual show, unfortunately. But a huge big up to the JCF. We feel like we say it so much, but we cannot say it enough. Same way that it was an excellent production, an excellent show, and I had an excellent time. You know, and so I'm really looking forward to, you know, you guys doing it year after year and getting bigger and better time and time again. All right, so with that being said, we can jump into the headlines. I'd love to.
Well, one of the headlines I want to jump into is airlines. One of the airlines diversion. Dennis, all right, let's break it down together, right? The conflict that is happening in the Middle East right now seems to be escalating.
There has been a significant escalation. We saw the strike and then the counter strike. So there was the U.S.-supported strike on Iran's nuclear facilities. The Iranian state communicating that, you guys didn't really destroy what you wanted to destroy. I mean, that might just be wartime bravado, but then promising a far greater
they're going to strike back, so you chuck me, I chuck you back.
Right, but then, you know, several missiles were launched, and the argument is that all but one of them were intercepted, so they didn't hit. And we're going to see, I believe, because in terms of if you study how war happens, a war is consisted of several battles.
And
we are likely to see escalation, which is why one of the headlines has been that, you know, the foreign minister
Yes.
is warning Jamaicans against
Traveling.
to the Middle East at this time. Any unnecessary travel to the Middle East at this time is not being advised.
Yeah. And if anyone
it's
has family
understandable,
members, or you're Jamaican and you're in any of those areas right now, and you're having a difficulty, to reach out to the ministry as well, because so that they can help to sort things out. You are a family member, you know. Once you're Jamaican, you can reach out, because flights are being diverted, some are being cancelled.
Yes.
And though Donald Trump has said that there is a ceasefire, or has asked for a ceasefire, Iran is like, ceasefire? Are you first trouble with me? Yeah, you have to get some trouble back. So it's just, the world is just, I don't know. And the tension then is, for me, it's just so unnerving.
And people wonder, for those people who haven't been following, people wondering, why Iran? What's the connection with Iran? There is the argument, and you can believe it or not, but in terms of, the argument is that Iran is a state that sponsors terrorist activity. So while they tend to keep their hands clean and out of the fray, they sponsor and train and empower Hezbollah, Hamas, and other entities that are terrorist organizations that strike Israel and other places. And so while you are not committing the act yourself, you are funding the act, you are training the actors, you're giving safe haven to them, and so there's that argument. Whether you accept it or not is another story. And so for many people, the argument is, no, this is not a first lick.
Yeah.
You've been licking long time,
Yeah.
and so no. So don't act like, oh, me have to lick you back. You first lick me. There's the argument that actually this has been an escalation. Yeah.
What I find unfortunate is just the innocent civilians who get so heavily impacted. You know, it impacts the food supply, it impacts clean water, it impacts electricity, it impacts schools, it impacts so much. And
it affects the world, because though it's in the Middle East, it has a ripple effect on all of us as well.
There will be supply chain impacts for the rest of the world. And we live in a globalized world where we are interconnected and interdependent, and so the happenings in one region have ripple effects in others. So we will wait and we will see.
I just want to ask them, I just want to go over there and talk. Them can't come to do a motivational talk over there. But I just want to talk to them one time. Look here, we could keep some fish fry now.
Instead.
We could do a boat ride. We can't do a boat ride. We could do a round robin. Guys, we don't need to stop. Like, seriously, I understand that this has been going on since time immemorial, since the redrafting of the lines and the taking of land and all of that. But guys, it has to stop.
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
Yeah.
It distresses me so much because of the effect because some people, oh, Miss Kitty, that no matter we. Yes, it does.
It does. I was having conversations with persons living in the U.S., and they live in one part of New York, and they have business in Manhattan, and they're afraid to go to Manhattan this morning.
Really?
Yes.
They're afraid to go to Manhattan because
9/11
they're
is
thinking,
like, you know, where are they going to strike again?
I wasn't even thinking about that residual nervousness among people, like proper New Yorkers who've lived in New York and who have been through a terrorist attack. I've never been through a terrorist attack, but when you have been through a terrorist attack, now, like, they're afraid to take the subway this week, like that, because
I don't know what might happen.
And of course, and there was a promise of retaliation, and so, like, you think, where are they likely to retaliate?
Right.
And people are saying New York, because, you know, and so I'm like, really?
Clear and present danger.
I thought to myself, really? Genuine fear.
Genuine, yeah.
But
I started to think the things.
Can
But
imagine.
again, I wasn't in New York in 2001.
Yeah.
They were. So they have that right to, you know,
Feel the fear.
feel that fear.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, bringing it back to the local side, Senate approves harsher sentences for murder. The Senate recently approved amendments to 3 laws aimed at imposing tougher penalties for murder, particularly involving children. The revised legislation offenses against the Person Amendment Act of 2025, Criminal Justice Administration Amendment Act of 2025, and Child Care and Protection Amendment Act of 2025 significantly increases mandatory minimum sentences. Non-capital murder now carries a minimum of 30 years, up from 15, while capital murder requires 50 years before parole eligibility, up from 20. Life sentences will now require 40 years before parole, up from 15, and fixed term sentences will require 20 years, up from 10. Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith, stated the changes signal the government's strong stance against murder.
As a member of the defense bar, how do you respond?
It's
because I know that there are many people who are against the imposition of mandatory minimum sentences.
Because you take away the discretion of the judges, because sometimes every murder is not the same. All murders are equal, but there are some more equal than others, so to speak. So when a judge can listen to mitigating circumstances, listen to antecedents that may be positive, this person has never committed a crime before, this was a crime of passion, or you know what I mean? It in some ways cripples that ability of the judge to say, listen, this situation is different and should be treated accordingly. And of course, then we argue about the separation of powers as well. Because if you're going to legislate in a way that takes away my power, how independent am I to think and to judge every case based on its own merit? But you can understand too that you need harsher penalties. So some persons will say, well, Miss Kitty, listen, it is what it is at this time, and we need to do something as a country and have these sentences imposed as firmly and as sure as night follows day. But of course, the judges, in their wisdom too, they understand the situation and the circumstances, and usually they hand down sentences that are fitting. So you don't need to put me in a wall, because if you tell me mandatory, I don't have wiggle room. I don't have wiggle room to say, well, oh my God, he has been such a great person, or she, I don't. The mandatory.
But all right. I don't see it as a carte blanche. For the record, I take those arguments. But on the other side, I don't see it as a carte blanche changing of mandate. So it is for specific things. You know, so we've seen non-capital and capital and certain against children. And things. And I always say that as social engineers, we have the power to engineer the society that we want, right? I don't necessarily take the separation of power argument, because it is the legislator, their responsibility as a legislature to design legislation to meet the exigencies of the day. And then once you design the legislation, it is the role of the judiciary
to carry that out.
To carry it out.
But then you can't tie the hand of the judiciary through the legislation, because now you don't give me any wiggle room. You don't allow me the discretion. You don't allow me to use my wisdom, experience, knowledge, and understanding.
But I would say too that the judiciary very often, well, I'm not going to say interferes with separation of powers, but the judiciary proudly will say, look here, you make law, but you think you make the law, you write the law, but we make the law through our judgments.
I've never really heard that.
Well, you're not got yours. You know, we make the law through our judgments, because you can write it, you know, but once it is interpreted in a particular way over a period of time, that's what makes the law, right? And so for me, for instance, we've effectively decided that the legislation about where capital punishment is concerned is of no moment. I think it should be struck. So now that we've changed mandatory minimum sentences, for instance, if we've decided we don't hang people anymore, because I don't imagine anyone will ever be hanged in Jamaica ever again. So if we've decided that through the court, through the justice system, then now redesign the legislation that you don't need that. You have the harshest possible penalty is that you're going to 50 years, you understand? Because when some horrible murders that have been committed, and 15 years later, the person is eligible for parole? Nope. I don't feel like so. And I'm
But
saying
the minimum doesn't stop me from giving you 30 years. But now when you give me a mandatory minimum, I am stuck right here.
But why not? Because there are mandatory minimums for other legislations. You go to America, and if them decide you're going to serve 3 consecutive life sentences, you're going to be locked up for 300 years. You'd never see that in Jamaica. Never see that in Jamaica, because he was a good youth, and he was on the choir, and he was an altar server in the Catholic Church, and anyone can get a good antecedent report. Anyone can get a good antecedent report, and so I think that you have these. Let's work within the law.
Yeah. Well, I love that discussion.
There you have it.
I'll have more for you at 7 a.m. for the news.
Yeah, legal policing right here on Sunrise. All right, TK, thank you so very much. Enjoy your day. And it's now time to take a quick break. There's more Sunrise right after this. Why Sunrise just get serious a while ago? Is that the feeling? Something about coming here. We got to realize that is. What to go down? What to down? Oh my God. The academia. Oh my God. Yes. Well, we're going to take a break, guys. We'll be right back.